Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, Bodkins. Patty to patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only Bodkin Show. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. Hey, good morning. As I got some cream on my lip here from my coffee. Good morning. This is the Bodkin Show. Shout out to Mr. Smoking Amigo Kenny Miller for the outro, the layouts. He has been cooking up some stuff to make us look real cool here at the Bodkin Show. So shout out to Mr. Smoking Amigo Kenny Miller for all the cool videos and clips and things like that you see. Look at us. We're looking real professional around here, folks. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. I am that dude, Bodkins. As always, this is our weekly sports wrap-up show that we bring to you every Wednesday morning. We got some comments already rolling in here, man. The Landis says, great intro. Yeah, man. Again, Kenny kicked it. I mean, he killed it with that intro. So let's hop into it already, and we'll get going here, man. So this is just, I always like to love these wrap-up shows. Just I like to call it the working man's podcast wrap-up show. Hey, ESPN's too baloney for you. They give you too much crap. So we like to break it down here on the Bodkin Show and just give you the basics of everything that happened in the wild week of sports. So we always start in the NFL. Man, what happened in the NFL this week? Oh, yeah. I forgot. Just kidding. Deshaun Watson suspended 6 games. That ruling has come down by the judge. Now, that's not the official ruling, folks. I know everybody's jumping on. He got 6 games. He got 6 games. Roger Goodell is still the executioner here. He can still overrule that judge. He can still say, oh, you found findings that he did some wrongdoing. Okay, we're going to suspend him for a year. It doesn't matter what this judge says. The judge is just there to hear both sides to see if something did happen. Roger Goodell is still the executioner, still gets to punish Deshaun on whether or not, how long he's suspended for. So it could be 6 games, could be a year. Who knows? I mean, anything is possible here on the Deshaun Watson situation. We should find out. I think he had 3 days to appeal. They can appeal and then still say, hey. Now, obviously, the NFLPA and Deshaun's team has come out and said, hey, I think we should let this judge say whatever she says, Let's go by her ruling. Now, this is the first time this has happened. This happened in the new collective bargaining agreement. If you want a lot more great detail, check out the Buffoon and Bodkin Show on Monday. You can check that right here on this network, on this channel, and the Let's Talk Sports channel. There's channel, this Buffoon's channel as well. We were on all sorts of channels on the Bodkins and Buffoon, our Buffoon and Bodkins. But we had this Woj come on, and he's a lawyer out of New York and a sports podcaster as well. I mean, he really broke down all that Deshaun Watson stuff really well into great detail. But just the gist of it, it is 6 games right now, but possibly could be more depending on what Roger Goodell signs here in the next few days. Could be today. I think it's probably going to be more than 6 games. I just think there seems like people are like, wow, 6 games, that's it. We've seen worse, right? We've seen worse. I mean, Calvin Ridley's getting suspended for a whole year because he made shitty bets and crappy parlays. So will it be more for Deshaun? Possibly. We'll see. I mean, Brady got four games for deflating some balls in a game that was already a blowout. You know what I mean? So speaking of oh, hold on a second, y'all. I'll just keep going now. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Just something popped up on my computer here. Speaking of troubled teams and making troubled decisions, we get to the Miami Dolphins. So, if you guys remember, it was reported Brian Flores was suing the Dolphins, said, "Hey, they asked me to lose games, y'all," and then it was kind of like, and so they were kind of investigating that. Which, I mean, let's be real, like some teams are told they're supposed to tank or supposed to lose games to get draft picks. I mean, that's nothing new. I think that's they're not going to be competitive. They weren't competitive at times during B-Flow's run, especially like that first year. Well, it was reported before that, and during this investigation, that at one time, while Tom Brady was under contract with the Patriots, and while Sean Payton was under contract with the Saints, that Stephen Ross flew those guys out, met each other on their nice fancy yacht boat, and was like, "Hey Brady, we want you to come here. We'll give you part ownership. Also, you and Sean Payton together, we can turn this Dolphins thing around." The problem is, if you don't talk to the other owners about who you can talk to and meeting with these guys and teams and owners under contracts, that's against the rules. So that did happen. So now Stephen Ross is being fined. What I got here, Ross is being fined $1 million. I mean, the Miami does. Here's the thing, though, is they were trying to. This was like during that Tua time, before they got to it. Now they're going to lose a first round pick this coming season, the 2023 draft. They'll lose that pick. So now there'll only be 31 picks in the NFL draft. I guess, right? I mean, is that how that works out? So, but they'll lose a first round pick, and then they also lose a third round pick, not this season, but I think the 2024 season draft. So, I mean, not egregious, but also they broke the rules and they fined them. So I think that's probably right up the alley. I'd like to see what happens with like the Commanders and all their stuff. Like they've never been taking draft picks, a first round pick, and things like that. So I think the last team that got some picks taken away from them was the Patriots for the Deflate Gates and things like that. I don't know if it was a first rounder though. I mean, this is a first rounder, but hey, when you're trying to get Tom Brady and you're trying to get other a new head coaching who are under contract, hey, we get it. We get it. Stop these, these billionaires. But I mean, he's found a couple millionaires. What's a million to a billionaire? Once Jay-Z once said. So I mean, really, he's not really the money's not the issue. I think the draft pick will hurt the team, more than anything, especially with our first round pick. But that's a team that's trying to make the playoffs. So we'll see. It's not going to be, where that pick would have been. We'll see. Other NFL news here. Debo Samuel gets his contract extension. Looks like it's 58 guaranteed, 71 overall, and he's on the team till 2026. So the 49ers, Debo had asked for a trade. I mean, every Packer fan was hoping that he'd get traded to us, but we all knew that wasn't going to happen. Nice. I mean, they had to get this deal done. It was a deal that both sides, the 49ers needed to get it done. Now, it's also in his contract extension because there's rumors whether Debo wanted to take more part in the running game or also, was like, no, I don't want to be a running back. But he does have incentives if he reaches so many rushing yards or so many rushing attempts in that contract. So good for his agent to work that out. Because let's be real, I mean, if he's a running back and he's taking those hits, that your career diminishes fast. Most wide receivers are in the league a heck of a lot longer than running backs. So if he's taking those neat hits as a running back, he needs to get paid a little bit more. Plus, he's playing receiver, so he's almost playing a dual role here. But staying in, so Debo gets his deal done. It's again him and by Ayuk. They bring in Trey Lance. We'll see what happens there on those ends with the 49ers there, how they're going to be here. We're looking at staying in the NFC West. DK also got a 3-year extension. His is a $31 million signing bonus, $58 million guaranteed. So the Seahawks secured DK. Still don't have a quarterback, but they secured their number one wide receiver. A team that looks to be rebuilding. maybe they're the team. I still say that they're in on Jimmy G. They got to make that move for Jimmy G, whether it's a trade, whether they wait for the 49ers to release him. Who knows? But I mean, when Drew Lock's throwing you the ball and Geno Smith's throwing the ball, you might as well pay DK all that kind of money because his stats aren't going to be great. And I think people will just know who his quarterback is because they don't have one. So I promise you, we're going to be breaking down some divisions, and we'll just stay in the NFC West because that's where the champion came out of. We'll probably do 2 divisions each week, but this week I'm going to give you one and kind of how I foresee it. So lock it in here, folks. What our predictions for the NFC West? Just trying to kind of go here. So we'll go bottom to top. I've been saying it. It's the Seahawks are the bottom team. I mean, when you don't have a quarterback in the most important position in all of sports, when you don't have that guy, you don't have a team. And I mean, and they're not even like serviceable quarterbacks here. Like, like Ryan Tannehill is a serviceable quarterback where you're like, hey man, if this team's really good, we could probably make a run. Kirk Cousins is that way as well. Jimmy G is that way. If just a guy that maybe not win you a lot of games, probably not going to lose you a lot of games. I mean, Kirk Cousins has lost Minnesota games, but just like that middle of the pack, the guy that's if they're halfway decent, if that team's got a good team around you, he can take you to the playoffs. But if you don't have a good team around them, they're probably not going to take you to the playoffs. So the Seahawks don't have either of those things. They have some decent weapons. We just talked about DK. Still got Lockett. Noah Fant is there's their tight end. Not a bad offensive line. The running backs, Kenneth Walker, the third here is slated to start. And their defense, I mean, it's a rebuilding defense. I mean, it's a long, long days from the Legion of Boom here. But it's kind of like a rebuilding defense. I mean, still got Jamal Adams, a wannabe linebacker that plays the safety position. So I got the Seahawks 4. Then it gets a little tricky. I think I like the 49ers as the 3 here. And that's just because the new quarterback, Trey Lance. And I think he'll be good, but I think they just take a little step back and the other 2 teams are just a little bit better. I mean, we just talked about they still got a decent running game. They're always going to be able to run the ball. They have one of the best left tackles in football in Trent Williams, one of the best tight ends in George Kittle. We just talked about Debo and Brandon Ayuk. And that defense is still, I mean, with Bosa, Armstead, Kinlaw, Fred Warner's one of the best linebackers. That defense is still really, really good. The inexperience of Trey Lance could hurt them there in San Francisco. So I like them as the 3, and then our 2, the Arizona Cardinals. And if you want to make a case for the 49ers to be the win, take second, and the Cardinals 3, I'm totally okay with that. I could make a case that the 49ers could be the 2, but I just think this is like a big prove it year for the Cardinals. They all got their extensions. They all got the movement. They're up, trying to progress forward. Big year for Kyler Murray, big year for Cliff Kingsbury. So that's the reason I got them here at the 2 spot. I mean, they got Kyler Murray, James Conner coming back after a good year. They got Hollywood Brown. Hopkins will be back after 6 games. They still have Rondale Moore, who I think is going to be a really good player. They have the veteran AJ Green, still have Zach Ertz. They just re-signed their left tackle and gave him a huge deal, DJ Humphries. The defense, if JJ Watt can still stay healthy, I mean, that's a big if. We know Isaiah Simmons is continuing to progress. They still have Budda Baker, who's a great one of the top safeties in this league. So if they can put it all together for a whole season, and that's a big if, because I mean, their first half of the season, they look like they could win this whole division, maybe even contend for the Super Bowl. But it's that last month and a half. Remember, it was like they remind me of the Cowboys a couple years ago. I mean, that's how they were. It would be like they start off hot, and then November, December hits, and then they would finish like 8-8 all them a lot of times. So I like Arizona to finish second, and then I like the defending champions to finish first in that division. And I'm about to call them St. Louis, the LA Rams. I mean, right now there's some rumors that Matt Stafford's got like arm fatigue and things like that. So that's a little worrisome. But as long as, and you always have to preference this. I have to preference this every time when you make picks. If healthy, right? Like if Matt Stafford is Matt Stafford from last year, they'll be just fine. Now, if he's hurt and he does have arm fatigue, clearly they're going to be in some trouble. But that's every team, y'all. Every team. If you lose your starting quarterback, especially if it's one of them elite guys, your team's going to take a step back. But I like the Rams win healthy. They still have, Cooper Kupp. They brought in Allen Robinson. Van Jefferson is hurt. They're in talks with OBJ to come back in the second half of the season. Offensive line is still stellar, even though they lost Whitman. That defense, so they did lose Von Miller, but they brought in Bobby Wagner. Still have the best football player in all of football in Aaron Donald. Still have uh, Fuller, and they still have Leonard Floyd. Still have Jalen Ramsey. I mean, that team's still stacked, still bringing guys in, still ready to play. I like the Rams to win the AFC or NFC West. So to recap, bottom to top, Seahawks at 4, 49ers at 3, Cardinals at 2, Rams at 1 to win it. So lock it in, folks. The Rams winning the NFC West here. That kind of concludes our football talk. Moving into, there is no NBA news. Usually I kind of go there too. No NBA news, no big news here of the NBA right now. We'll get into some sadness news to end the show, but no like movement on the Durant talks right now. No movement on Donovan Mitchell talks. No movement on the Kyrie talks. It seems like talks might be dead in the water here. So moving into our baseball, man, baseball has been cooking since the All-Star game. The trade deadline passed yesterday. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of all the moves that have been somewhat made. I mean, wow, a lot of big names. No Shohei Ohtani move. No, at first, I mean, I didn't think up until yesterday, I didn't know if Soto was going to get moved, but we'll talk about that deal too. But a trade that happened just early part of I guess late part of last week. Andrew Benintendi from the Royals gets shipped to the Yankees. I like that move. The Yankees get another nice bat. The rich get richer there. They ship some prospects. The Royals got rid of their two best players. Benintendi had been a nice player, probably their best player. This is the move I love the most. One of the moves I love the most. And that's the Mariners. I mean, they're going all in here, folks. It's been 20 plus years for the Mariners. They pick up Luis Castillo. The Reds get some prospects coming back their way. I mean, the Reds are one of the worst teams in baseball. They lose their best guy. And the Mariners, I mean, let me look at the standings here, too. I don't think they're going to catch the Astros, but yeah, I mean, they are 11 back, so they're not going to catch the Astros, but they are contention for that wild card spot, you know. And right now, they're in that second wild card spot where they play Toronto. So that's the guy you want on the mound, Luis Castillo, the guy you just traded for in that one game playoff. I picked Toronto to win the AL East. I'd be kind of torn between those two teams because I'm rooting for the Mariners, man. It's been 20 plus years. Let them get in. Hopefully, they can carry this momentum with Luis Castillo as their ace going forward. Some small moves here. The Rays get outfielder David Peralta. Yankees upgraded their bullpen. The Yankees just were on the move. I mean, the rich got richer. They got right-hander pitcher Scott Everfrost from the Cubs, just another great bullpen arm for the Yankees. The Padres, man, and we'll get into the more of the Padres here too, but I'm just kind of going chronological order here. The Padres grabbing Josh Hader, man. I was surprised at this move because the Brewers are in the playoff chase. They're in, fighting with the Cardinals for the NL Central. So they're going, they get rid of their closer. He did have a bad month of July, but and he's been rumored for like 2 years to be traded, and it's a financial decision. I don't think they were going to bring him back in the offseason, but Padres ship some more prospects. They get Josh Hader, a shutdown closer. The Yankees again made a huge move. They get, the rich get richer here with the Yankees. They got Benintendi, they got Ever Frost, and then they get starting pitcher Frankie Montas from the A's. He was the A's' number one pitcher with Lou Trevino. Again, they're shipping out some prospects and then how about Trey Mancini? Again, we talked about the rich getting richer. He's headed to the Astros, who are trying to keep pace with the Yankees, trying to get for that number one seed. The Orioles got some prospects. The Rays got Jose Sirius, Orioles Rays, but the Astros more importantly get Trey Mancini, another nice bat, can play first base and DH for them. And then the Astros also get catcher Christian Vazquez from the Red Sox. This was a funny deal. So they're playing the Red Sox. Vazquez is doing BP for the Red Sox. His teammates walk over to him, take him from the media, and say, "Hey, man, you go ahead and grab your stuff and head over to the next dugout because you just got traded to the Astros." So they get Vazquez. The Red Sox do acquire Tommy Pham from the Reds for a player to be named. Just a nice little plug and play player. I'm not too sure what the Red Sox are doing. It's weird because some teams that you think are buying and are selling. You knew guys there's about 3 teams that I can tell you that were buying, and that was the Astros, the Yankees, and the Padres were buying everything, folks. Everything, but the Red Sox it's just like they're going to middle around and maybe they'll catch it, maybe they won't. The White Sox added Jake Dinkerman. The Red Sox get another catcher. The Cardinals, how about the Cardinals here? They're trying to, catch the Brewers and stay in touch with the Brewers. They traded for Jose Quintana, sending a couple of prospects back to the Pirates. Yeah. Hey, the Cubs made that move a couple years ago, Cardinal fans. It didn't work out. And, I've never been, not try to be biased on this show. I've always been authentic. Well, I hope he does the same thing for the Cardinals as he does for he did for the Cubs, and that's lose a bunch of games. But they pick up Jose Quintana. The Brewers did get some bullpen help. They got Matt Bush. Also got Robbie Grossman. I like this move here. The Braves get Jake Odorizini. He's a pretty good pitcher here. And then they did have to depart of Will Smith. He's headed to the Astros. The Twins got Jorge Lopez from the Orioles. I was hoping the Orioles would buy in and get some prospects or keep this run, but it looks like they're obviously sellers, unfortunately. Blue Jays got Anthony Bass and Zach Pop. So then we get Eric. We'll talk about that one. So Joey Gallo is off to L.A. That the Yankees trade Joey Gallo to the Dodgers. And then we get to the big deal of the day yesterday. Juan Soto headed from the Nationals to the Padres, and Josh Bell. They get the 2 best Nationals players in Juan Soto and Josh Bell. They did give up a lot. They gave up some of their best top prospects. And Luke Voigt. It was going to be Eric Hosmer, but Eric Hosmer has a no-trade contract, so he ends up going to the Red Sox. But I mean, the Padres, we're going to stop here. I mean, the Padres went all in, and they're not catching. I mean, they're not catching the Dodgers either, folks. Like, I mean, we're looking at those standings too. Right now, the Padres are 11 and a half back of the Dodgers. They're not catching them, but they all are in on the wild card and trying to get to that wild card. They're 3.5. They're the second wild card. They're up 3.5, and 4.5 back of Atlanta. So maybe they could catch Atlanta and uh, take out take take that spot as the number one wild card. But they're not catching. They're not winning the NL West. But could they win the whole dang thing? Absolutely, they could. Absolutely, they could. Because the Astros, I mean, the Padres have that lineup, man. I mean, they have a great lineup. They have a good pitching staff. We just talked about how they got Josh Hader. I mean, we haven't even seen Tatis this year. So once he comes back healthy, you're going to have Soto, Tatis, Machado. I mean, wow. And if they can get a deal done with Tatis and not Tatis, an extension with Soto, and then you can grow Tatis and Soto together, it would be an incredible deal. So, I mean, the Padres are all in. We'll see what happens here. I mean, that's like a power moves like the I, mean, I just couldn't believe it. I didn't think the Soto deal was going to get done, to be honest. Uh, but the Padres all in trying to get in that wild card security, make sure they're in the wild card spot. The Twins also get they got some Tyler Mahle. The Phillies, man, they're in a spot too where they're trying to catch those two teams. They added David Robinson, closer from the Cubs, so they get the Mets, who you thought were going to make a huge big splash. They didn't quite make a big splash. They got outfielder Darren Ruff from the Giants, which isn't bad. The Padres also got infielder Brandon Drury, who is a nice move guy who can play all over the infield. The Twins got Michael Fuller from the Tigers, another nice little pitcher. The Phillies, though, they did make the nice splash, and again, they're trying to catch up. I almost forgot about this. This is why I go in chronological order here. Chronological order. Noah Syndergaard headed from the Angels to the Phillies to be their kind of number one guy. I've always been a big fan of Noah Syndergaard. Maybe it's just the Thor nickname that I like, but always been a fan of his. He's pitching really well. Angels didn't make the Ohtani move, but they did make that move. Headed over to the Phillies to try to catch on with that wild card. The Phillies have really turned it around. Remember, they fired their manager earlier this year and are now headed to, right there on the cusp of getting that second wild card spot. The Yankees also got Harrison Bader from the Cardinals. The Cardinals get Jordan Montgomery. So kind of that team's a bit even there. How about this? This was came in late last night. Whit Merrifield traded from the Royals. He was their best player for all them years to the Blue Jays. Now I want to backtrack here because we talked about Benintendi at the top of the baseball segment, and now we're talking Whit Merrifield. Both those guys were not vaccinated and couldn't get into Canada. I guarantee you right now they're vaccinated because the Blue Jays ain't going to trade for Whit Merrifield if he, isn't vaccinated and can't play for them. Same with Benintendi, because guess what? It's different when you're playing in Kansas City and you're not having to go to Canada all the time. Then in New York, where you're going to play in Canada multiple times because they're in the same division. So guarantee, again, this is where I tell people all the time, afford to be who you can be. Guess what? When they were at the Royals, they could afford not to be vaccinated. They didn't care because the Royals didn't care. But now they're on these two teams. Hey, afford to be who you can be, my friends. Let's see who else here. The Braves got Rafael Iglesias. That pretty much wraps up the bullpen, the trade news here. Obviously, I think the trade winners, obviously the Padres, man. I mean, when you get the Josh Hader, one of the elite closers in this game, and then you get Juan Soto, I think the Yankees also won. I mean, God, the rich keep getting richer. Uh, the Dodgers added a nice little piece too. The Astros, but if you had to label it all down and said who's the biggest winners, it is the Padres, man. I mean, you don't know if those prospects are going to hit, and I mean they gave up a lot to get them, but they didn't even deplete their process. From what I've read and been told, is that the Padres, their farm system has been one of the best in baseball. It's why they can continue to empty out and make these moves and get guys. So the Padres all in, and I enjoyed it. I also like the Mariners. I think the Mariners getting Luis Castillo, the best pitcher that was available, like that move as well for the Mariners. So hey, it'll be an interesting run here. The last 2 months, we're on the sprint of the last 2 months of the baseball season. We'll bring out our power rankings back next week. The after the trade deadline power rankings, I'll release those next week. Then we get into we got to talk a little UFC here, folks. UFC 277. Incredible night of fights. The main card was absolutely killer. On paper, it wasn't, you're like, ooh, I don't know about this card. But if you watch those fights and you dig a little deeper into it, I mean, wow, 4 of the 5 fights on the main card were finishes. The main event, Amanda Nunez becomes double champ for the second time, first person to ever do that. She just brutalized Juliana Pena through 5 rounds. But I mean, Pena had some moments, and that was a heck of a. But it was just a unanimous decision. I mean, it was just a beat down. I mean, there was a 10-8 round in there. I mean, there was just not a lot of hope for. I mean, Pena had some moments at times, but man, if that was boxing, it could have been, because she was knocked down 3 times, I think in the second or the third round. So if that's boxing, that fight ends early. But it did go to the 5th round. We'll see what happens with Amanda going forward. Juliana said, hey, I'd like to run it back. I think she probably needs to win one more fight and then run it back. But we'll see going forward. Who else had some nice wins? Brandon Moreno won the interim flyweight title with Davison Figueroa he beat Kaikar France in a heck of a liver shot in the 3rd. I had it up 2-0 to Brandon Moreno, and it looked like Kaikar France was turning the corner to come back and win that fight, but then he gets kicked right in the liver, and it was all out. Kudos to Brandon Moreno. Now he's going to fight Davison Figueroa for the 4th time. Now, Figgy was on the MMA Hour yesterday or Monday with Ariel Hawani and said he weighs 135 right now. So the 125 cut will be pretty easy when they fight in December. Guess what, Figgy? I don't believe you. There's no way that man weighs 135. Did you see how big he looked when he entered the octagon to face off with Moreno the other Saturday night? Bro looked like he weighed about 180. I mean, just a big guy, stocky, short guy. But that fight looks to be getting ready to be made in December. Fast forward to this week, and you can catch a little bit more of the breakdown on that card on Head Kicks and Haymakers. Check out, that's a show that you can catch right here on the Bodkins channel that we talked. We did a UFC 277 pre-show and post-show. So make sure you check that out. Just search on the videos there, Head Kicks and Haymakers, right here on the Bodkins channel and Let's Talk Sports channel. Also, we have so this weekend we have Thiago Santos and Jermaine Hill fighting. I mean, this is a good lightweight fight. Santos is trying to stop Hill from entering the top 5 category. Thiago's been on a tough run here. He's lost 3 of his last 4. I mean, one of those was to John Jones, but then Hill's just been knocking folks out, where he's won 3 of his last 4 fights, and all three by TKO. So you might be able to go to bed early, folks, because Hill could be putting them out. And then you have Vincent Luque as well on the and Jeff Neal. Luque, I mean, he was on quite the run. They were talking about giving him a title shot but then he lost to Belil Muhammad and lost his spot there. Jeff Neal's that's a guy that I feel like they're trying to build. He's had some stumbling blocks along the way, but has looked good in his last few fights. He's ranked number 13, and he's fighting Vince Luque. And we'll talk all about those fights this Sunday on Head Kicks and Haymakers. That'll happen this Sunday, probably right here on the Bodkins channel and Let's Talk Sports channel, roughly about 7 a.m. Central Time Zone Sunday morning. So get up, drink some coffee with us, talk a little UFC on Head Kicks and Haymakers. It's our new show that we've been working on. My main man, Craig with a K, will be joining us, and Mr. Smoking Amigo, Kenny Miller. The three of us will be doing that show this Sunday again. That'll be our weekly UFC show you can catch right here. Before we get out of here, we have got to talk about a couple RIPs. First, Bill Russell died. I believe it was Sunday. The all-time winningest basketball player in history. I wouldn't say he's the greatest. I never saw Bill Russell play, but I respect what he did. Won 12 championships as a player and a coach. Helped build the Celtics with Red Auerbach. But more importantly, if you look into what Bill Russell did, he helped do a lot to end segregation in Boston schools. Bill Russell, the man, did more than Bill Russell, the basketball player, as far as supporting equal rights, supporting to end segregation and those things. I don't like to speak. It's hard for me to speak on that things. Number one, I wasn't alive back then. And two, I'm just a white honky from mid Missouri. So, but wrong is wrong. And he had tried to, he ended those, try to help end those wrongs. I was listening to PTI and they kind of said hey, Jackie Robinson was number one guy that broke the color barrier. And then, there's a few guys at that table, Muhammad Ali, Asher Rath, Ash, and then Bill Russell would be on that at that table as well. Muhammad Ali, a couple others. So the late great Bill Russell, rest in peace. Again, 12-time champion, one of the all-time winningest players to ever step on a court. But more importantly, did more important things off the court than he did on the court. Also late last night, I was getting ready to go to sleep. Vin Scully, rest in peace to Vin Scully, the late great Dodger announcer. In my lifetime, it's probably three announcers that I caught the tail end of and know of. And that's the thing is local radio back then is different, and those teams where you're signed a team, Vin was with the Dodgers, but I think of Harry Carey with the Cubs. I think of Jack Buck with the Cardinals. And then, obviously Vin Scully with the Dodgers. When you're assigned to those teams, and he had some iconic calls, iconic moments, had been with the team. I think I could be wrong here, folks, but I think as soon as they moved from Brooklyn all the way, and he had been with the Dodgers from the moment they got to LA, all the way to just a couple years ago. And even then he was still doing games up into his late years. But he passed away last night. So rest in peace to Vin Scully and Bill Russell. And we're, so yeah, we'll kind of end the show there. I don't like ending the show there. So let's, I don't like to end on a bad note. So check us out. We'll switch roles here again. Again, this weekend's going to be a packed weekend here on the Bodkins Channel show. We'll have Saturday. I will be on Let's Talk Sports with the buffoon, Tanner. We'll be doing our little wrap-up show with, Dan. And Sunday, we'll have Head Kicks and Haymakers at 7 in the morning. Kenny and Craig will be joining me for Head Kicks and Haymakers. And then Sunday night, Sunday night, folks, we have Fight Hard MMA lightweight champ Ray Hayes will be joining me right here on the Bodkins channel, on the Bodkins show. Well, he's got a fight coming up, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. I believe he's dropping down into weight class, so we're to 145. So trying to snag another belt. We're going to talk to him about trying to become a double champ. His fighting life. I'm excited to talk to Ray Hayes. This Sunday, you'll be able to see that live right here about 7 p.m. Central Time. I think that's about it, folks. It's been another great episode. Again, we got some comments real quick coming in before we get out of here. Kenny adds, if Figgy weighs 135 right now, I must be ready for the middleweight debut. Exactly, Kenny. If Figgy weighs 135, you weigh 185, brother. So 185. So, same here. I'm ready to fight at 170 if Figgy's weighing 135, Just not going to happen. I mean, and we kind of talked about this on Head Kicks and Haymakers real quick, too. If Figgy can't make that fight, you have Alexander Pantoja be the backup fight when they make that fight for Moreno and Figgy, because Figgy's always struggled with weight problems. Now he's made the last three fights with Moreno, but there was a time he did fight for the title and won, but couldn't have the title because he didn't make weight. And he's always kind of been around there. And the longer he's away, I think always is harder to cut that weight back down. Anyway, folks, it's been another great episode of the Bodkins channel. Again, check us out here this Sunday. We'll be back. We're going to hit this nice, cool outro video. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, share. We are on Spotify, Apple iTunes, all the good stuff nowadays. I think I said Apple iTunes. I say Apple iTunes. Apple Podcasts. You know what I'm trying to say, folks. Anyway, like, comment, share. Be a friend. Tell a friend. Share with a friend. Hitting that outro right now.